Hey, good morning, St. Matthew and Facebook friends. This is day 4 of our Red Letter Challenge, and the topic today is giving. You know, one of the great casualties of COVID-19 for me personally is this. It sounds a little bit silly, but every day around 2 o'clock, the toddlers at David Christian Learning Center start waking up. And the ones who wake up first are brought out in the hall for snack time. And so every day about 2 o'clock before COVID-19, I would wander down the hall and sit with the toddlers, and we'd have Cheez-Its and juice. And they'd, hug me or sit in my lap, and I would just get to spend time with them, get to know them, let them get to know me. And we can't do that right now with social distancing, and that has been a great loss for me personally. But one of the treats about that, one of the things I got to see when I did that, was these toddlers love to share with me. They love to share their snack with me. They'd give me their whole snack. And the reason they could do that was because they knew that Miss Tabby had, at least what in their minds was, an endless supply of snacks. They would never run out. There would always be more. And so they were generous. I think about some of the things we've also learned from some of our African ministries. We've been blessed to help start a Sudanese church and 2 Liberian churches. And so we've come to know this concept of African time. And many times we've been frustrated by African time, where it just didn't matter, it seemed, whether you got there on time or not, or no one got there on time. And we experienced the same thing when we were in our trips to rural Panama to work with Jesus Divine Savior in Rio Rita, Panama, where time just didn't seem to matter. And our Sudanese pastor, Paul Powell, explained to me one time that Sudanese people don't have a lot of stuff. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of food. They don't have a lot of possessions. The one thing they have a lot of is time. And so they're generous with time. There's an endless, it seems, supply of time. So we can be generous with time. We can wait for people to start. I think there's such a great lesson in that for us. With what God gives us, God has an endless supply. Whether we're talking about things like forgiveness and grace and love, the things that flow from this altar, that flow from the cross, or whether we're talking about physical things, everything is God's. And God is the one who gives us everything we have, and He has an endless supply. That means we can be generous. Our generosity can reflect the generosity of God. Our relationship to money and things can reflect God's relationship to money and things. A great quote from Pastor Zender this week. He says, "I'm convinced it's impossible to be a stingy Christian." I'm convinced it's impossible to be a stingy Christian because we have a generous God. We have an endless supply of what God gives us. So let's be generous with what God gives us. That's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow for day 5.